linear living is not true in nature. And so when we recognize we are also nature, then coming to the menstrual cycle, and all the other myriad of cycles you can connect to, like the moon phases, the seasons of the year, the wheel of the year. We only are mirroring nature, and that is the most sustainable thing you can possibly do.
Welcome to Wild Flow, the podcast with me, your host, Charlotte Pointeau. I'm a wild feminine cycle coach here for the awakened woman who is ready to reclaim her body, menstrual cycle, and feminine power, and to live, love, and lead in flow with nature's wisdom. In this podcast, I'll share how you can live in sync with your menstrual cycle and life seasons, heal your relationship with your womb and rites of passages, and embody your wild feminine as a multi-passionate woman in life, mothering, and business. It's your time to flourish as a cyclical being in this modern world. Are you ready? Let's flow. In this episode, I spoke with the lovely Sophie French. Sophie is a sustainability academic that has now gone rogue. She's entering the realm of cyclical awareness and bringing a holistic approach to help her clients live a life of ease and flow through finding a rhythm in business, creativity, or the day-to-day. She is a circle facilitator, a space holder, and she loves to co-create with folks in wild, ever-changing ways. Sophie and I spoke about the intersection of sustainability and cyclical living, how we reflect the world around us, and in turn, so does the world reflect our internal world. This was such an illuminating conversation for me to take sustainability, this idea, out of the environmental realm and to look at our own inner nature and how we can sustain and nourish and resource ourselves on the inside, allowing that to ripple outwards to support our communities, our work, our families, and our culture more widely. I hope that you really love this conversation as much as I did. Today we have got Sophie French with us, and I'm so looking forward to such a beautiful conversation with Sophie. Sophie is somebody who I've been connecting with online for, I don't know, I think a year and a half or so, and it's only been recently that we've actually really crossed paths enough to talk and share much more of our common interests and get to know each other on a deepening level. And we've been working together in cycle coach training that Sophie is currently taking with Claire Baker, and I'm participating as a guest mentor in there. And we have been having some beautiful conversations. I've just recently recorded a conversation for her upcoming podcast as well, Earth Within. And I've been really looking forward to having Sophie on Wild Flow to hear more about her passion for cycle awareness and how she really works with cycle awareness through the lens of sustainability, particularly, and creativity. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. It's really, really lovely to have you. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much, Charlotte. Such an honor to be here, to have this conversation with you today. I'm so looking forward to it as well. And I'm well. I'm feeling really peaceful and just really grateful to be here. I can't wait.
Thank you. Okay, let's begin with a cycle check-in. Are you happy to share, if you have a cycle, whereabouts in your cycle you are and how that feels for you today?
Yes, definitely. I would love to. I am on cycle day 16 today. And for me, that's just having gone past ovulation. Felt it really strongly about 2 days ago on Sunday. And so today, just sensing a height of inner summer and really feeling capable, like in my body and spiritually really connected and feeling that channel from like the source to heart and womb. and inspired, feeling really inspired by those people around me, my environment. But also, even though ovulation is typically a time for more outward energy, I am sensing a craving for solitude. I mean, we're in lockdown here in Sydney at the moment. So whether there's a lot at play, lots of different variables, but I am noticing where my boundaries are strengthening around still honoring my hermit line. In human design, I have a 2 profile, which is a hermit. So I really am embodying that hermit, and that can come through even if it is meant to be this time of outwardness. I always like to balance it with ensuring I get this time to myself. And yeah, so coming to you today with just this sense of grounded peace in my body.
That's beautiful. Grounded peace in your body, even in what's archetypally quite an outward time of your cycle. Yeah, lovely. Yeah. We've just gone into lockdown here just this weekend, and I'm cycle day 4 today, and so I'm feeling very much like I just want to go slowly and tread gently, and I'm still feeling really, really slow and tender, and for me it's a bit of a challenge with a house of 5 people, just trying to find that time and space. So I've actually got my family have just gone out for a walk so that we could have this conversation, which feels nice. And even though this is like an outward conversation with you, it feels really nurturing and nourishing, and really soothing to my day 4 self. So thank you. Yeah, love that. And I'm going to have to go and find out more about the hermit line in human design. I didn't know that was something that came through in human design. I don't know if that's something that I would have within my chart. I'll have to find out more, but that's interesting. How do you feel human design sort of guides you to look after yourself or live in alignment with your human design?
Yeah, it was amazing to find out my human design last year. It really felt like this huge permission slip, and really dove into it quite all in. Like a year ago or so, and finding out, first of all, I'm a manifesting generator in my design, and then there's the profile or personality profile, which is where the lines come through. So I've got a 6th line and a second line, and so just finding out I'm a manifesting generator is something that means I'm an energy being, so I have constant access to my own energy, and also love to do all of the things, which is just so innate to my creative flow. Like in life, I'm always relating everything to a creative process and feeling like I've got a lot of different creative projects on the go, but that's what really brings me alive. So yeah, accepting that about myself last year meant that it gave me permission to adventure into different experiences, because in the 6th line as well really is about experiencing and dabbling in different activities or learnings or modalities until the age of 30. And then after that is when you're meant to alchemize and then educate, like from your embodied experience. And so that suited me quite well to as I'm practicing being like this natural earthly guide for people. And so the way that it helps me a lot in business, if I'm honest. In life, it helps me be creative and gives me permission to just flow. But in business, it also allows me to try and experiment, which is just a massive, it's just like an activation. So yeah, it's something that I love to do and align with. And so there's lots of beautiful Instagram accounts and people that I follow that give such beautiful, handy like tips about how you can lean into that even more. So something I've found really helpful.
Because I know I'm a generator. And I got confused and thought I was a manifesting generator, but no, I'm just a generator. But I know that means that I too have like this sacral authority or something. And I know that this power comes from within. And I know that I really have a tendency to want to do all the things too, and have to be led by my sacral chakra. I think that's what it means. And like that feeling of like embodied, like, is this a yes or a no? But beyond that, I don't know. I don't know what the lines mean and everything. So I'm going to go and check that out. That's really interesting. That did make a lot of sense to me as well. I was like, yeah, it's not just me being scatty or, feeling like I sort of interpreted that as kind of wanting to do all the things because I hadn't found the thing. But, from a place of kind of wanting to find out what it was and not feeling enough in a way until I'd found the thing. But I realize now that that's just part of my energy, and that's okay. That's okay. That, yeah, like you say, it helps with creativity, like understanding that. So yeah, thank you for that bit of information. I'm going to go check that out. So, Sophie, I would love to just ask you straight off the bat, could you just tell us a bit about who you are and, in your words, what you do as well, who you are and what you do?
This is always a really dynamic question and a live question for me. Like, it's always constantly evolving and changing. And so just disclaimer that this could change. Totally. And, I give myself full permission to be an ever-changing being, but I am Sophie. I am a lover of nature. I am, as a sister, a daughter, a lover to my beautiful partner, Jake. I feel at home in the morning when I'm walking to go get my coffee and taking in my environment and the weather, and I'm very creative. I enjoy creative process from beginning to end, and to me that is probably one of the first ways I came or arrived to cyclical living, is through the creative process of birthing creations and then letting them go. From a young age I've been very artsy. But art is life, it doesn't have to be painting or drawing. Like, I have now I see creativity as just everything that you do throughout your day. I mean, we're constantly birthing and also letting things go. And so, yeah, I'm very, very interested in at the moment, in just enhancing my knowledge of the creative process, of creative cycles. And nature is the biggest teacher for me in that process. Just so incredible to witness, the seasons change and the lunar cycle, and just all of, how we can connect to that rhythm that is outside of us and also within us. And so I at the moment, I'm companioning and doulaing people through their creative processes online. And I also love to hold circles for people. Gathering is just such a incredible sense of community and connection, which is something I crave. I've always craved that, a sense of belonging. And once I became like a women's circle facilitator, but now, circle facilitator, because inclusive of, everybody who would like to gather online, or whether it's in person. I find it such a sacred time. And one of my teachers, Mitlay Southey, who's just, so inspiring to me. She's just, she was able to guide me in a way to have sacred circles as a place to witness one another and to really be completely whole as you are. And that's something that, I'm constantly re-arriving to my own wholeness, but and other people's wholeness. And just so that's a way that I weave through my work at the moment. I love to share space with people ultimately in lots of different ways, but mostly connecting to creativity, connecting to self, to cyclical rhythms of life, of nature, of business. And I'm also training as a cycle coach.
Yeah,
with
you are.
glorious mentor, and of course Claire Baker. So yeah, it's an absolute joy.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love several things you said in there. One of the things that really stood out to me was right at the start, you said about the creative process of creating and then letting go. And that just being such an important part of the creative process and the cycle, as you know, all of the cycles. And in your work, when you're guiding people as a creative doula through creativity in whatever form that takes for them, is the letting go part, I'm just feeling intuitively, is this something that people are challenged by? Or which part of it is the process, do you feel is the challenge?
Oh, absolutely. You've nailed it already.
Right, yeah.
I mean, most people that I work with do have more challenges come up around the letting go and the space. And yeah, definitely in the release is the where the work comes up to enable us to be brave and courageous in letting something go, in looking at decay, you know, in the cycles of a flower blooming, for example, you know, and that's been germinated from seed and then it's grown and everyone's excited and watching it, you know, when's it going to bloom and bud, and everyone's so excited about it, and then this beautiful rose appears, for example, or whichever flower you'd like to imagine, and you know, adoring it, and we're so used to adoring everything at full bloom, and then what happens after? People walk past, not so bothered. It's decaying, whatever, almost, you know.
Goes in the bin if it's like a cut flower.
Yes, I know.
Deadheading.
I find it very difficult to throw away flowers, no matter what stage they're in. So that's
I have like dead, rotting flowers on my table because I'm like, it's life.
I know
there's a beauty in them. Yeah,
I completely agree. And so with that societal avoidance of decay and death, you know, in every single cycle we look at, including the life cycle too, like our tendency to avoid it or look away from, you know, the older population, or, you know, ageism comes into it. And so I'm coming back around to creativity as mimicking and reflecting our avoidance of decay. And so that's where challenges can come up, because we want to be a hoarder of everything in life, like just collect it like little magpies and have all these little creations, except we can't possibly spread our energy that thin across, you know, say, for example, if I'm working with someone that has 3 businesses, for example, and one, you know, perhaps is needing more attention, except maybe it's time to let it go. But that there's stories there as well, you know, there's relationship, you're in relationship to business or creative pursuits, and it's just about seeing which season that's in and then being okay with, it's essentially arriving at, why am I holding on to this? Is there a purpose? Because sometimes, of course, there is, you know, it's a very long-term project, or it's a business, you know, like yours or ours, that, you know, we're not letting go of anytime soon. You know, we're in this for the long haul because we believe in it. And it's, so then maybe we break it down further. So it's really lovely question, and just something to expand on and to think on, because I have arrived just at the conclusion that we're just conditioned to look away from what we see as negative, except we have to have death to have birth or rebirth. We have to, you know, close one chapter to open another one. There's all these cliches around it. We've heard the whole, like, when one door closes, another door opens. But allowing that to actually be is a whole different navigation, which is why I so enjoy being a creative doula, because being companioned at different points in your life cycle or business cycle is incredibly empowering, because you get to tune back into your own inner wisdom. And that's then what lands you at, okay, I'm trusting myself. I'm going to trust my decisions too, in that process. So hope that rounded out.
Yeah, I love that so much. I understand so much more now what your work is in that sense, and it sounds like, a real part of it is guiding your clients, the people who you work with, to trust in the seasonality and the cycle of business, but also in themselves and their capacity to sit with letting go and know that doesn't affect their worth or their definitions of success as well. Does that feel true?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It definitely comes back to, for my own journey with self-worth, it impacts creativity, it impacts business, it impacts life. If we're not valuing ourselves, self-preservation for earth preservation is one of my biggest mottos. Like, if you don't look after your own inner environment, there's no way you can make actively empowered choices, but choices that will benefit the earth. We can't pick up all of the litter outside of our house if our house is full of rubbish, or why would we be walking down the street to look after someone else's garden when ours is really messy? Or, and I really reflect that to our inner world. And that's why I do a lot of inner earthing your energy within. This is where earth within comes from. It's an act, it's a doing of earthing your energy within. So turning the gaze inward, because this is what's empowered me to begin living a life that feels more easeful, that feels more sustainable. Because I think we talked about it in when I was interviewing you on my podcast, but being catapulted into life from a young age on a linear trajectory, your energy seems outward or external to yourself, and then can be influenced then or infiltrated, and then it doesn't feel like it's yours. Whereas if you can earth some back in, or, engage in practices that can earth your energy within, you begin to live life in a different way. I hope that makes sense. It just, it then flows out the more we are connecting with what we feel, with what we know to be true for us. It's all about coming back to truth. Everybody's truth is different, but it is only yours,
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And I really love, could you repeat your phrase about, I've forgotten the words now, about tending within and tending without, essentially?
Yeah. So I think I said just earthing your energy within. It's just a way, it's cultivating a deeper relationship to yourself. So then what is outside of you is, you're creating boundary there. You're accepting that there's energy that you feel within your body, there's emotions, there's sensitivities, there's sensations, and then there's the external, and then just creating a connection between what is outside of you and what is within you. Is an empowering act in itself. It's a self-sustaining act that is constantly flowing, because your awareness is enhanced by this relationship, this constant, play and dance between inner and outer. And that's where, it's been over a number of years that I've discovered this way to be or live, and there's a culmination of learning, of embodying, of remembering. I don't want it to seem like I'm just, I've gone and studied, how to earth your energy within. This has been like an arrival over like a number of years, but also, reconnecting to ancestry, knowing, even the art of circle gathering, thousands of years ago, it's what my ancestors were doing. And so knowing there's that deep like reverence for for the work that I'm currently doing and the way that I'm dancing with life, it's nothing new.
Yeah.
Same with sustainability. It's nothing new. It's been around since the dawn of time. It's just been taglined and illuminated now in a trend, but it's very old. It's an ancient way to be.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Yeah. And it's like when we see that we are nature within, we have more respect for nature without, like around us outside. And it's making that connection, realizing that what goes on outside of influences inside, and what influences inside influences us outside.
Yes.
And it's not, we're not walking around as human beings who are in control, able to shape our existence and the world to suit our needs. And, we can't just keep taking from it. We have to replenish as ourselves inwards and the earth. I just want to, I love that, you talk about sustainability and that you just said that it's been taglined. And so I remember being at uni when I studied biology, and, in the final year, I specialized in environmental biology. So I remember learning about sustainability then from, like this environmental perspective and about conservation and about, the Earth's resources. But I love that you talk about it beyond that sense. So sustainability, I just Googled what the definition of sustainability is. So I found two. One is the avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. And the other one is meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. I just think that's so powerful, because the first one, it's natural resources, ecological balance, talking, it makes us kind of think about animals and plants and, the earth, which a lot of us can be quite disconnected from. And the second one, I think, kind of hits home for people a bit more, meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And that's super powerful, because it reminds humans that it's, this is going to affect us. And it's really sad that we have to make it tangible in a way that we can, relate to, and it's going to actually impact us. But it's true. And I hear, the word sustainability used a lot now. Governments are starting to talk about it a little bit more. And, there's a lot of the word comes up in terms of, the climate as well. But I get that, a sense that for you, sustainability, goes much more beyond that. And I would just love to know what it means to you. What does sustainability mean to you personally? And then your connection to creativity and the cycles.
Thank you so much for asking this question, because I think it's just so incredibly important and something that I could talk for days about. So I used to live in Perth. I'm in Sydney at the moment, and I studied a degree in sustainability. And so just to preface this, that I've had like academic time to play with the notions of sustainability in different ways, like from wearing a lab coat and to also being in Bhutan and studying their way that they measure sustainability of the country is through happiness index. And it's just so I've played with lots of different versions, and sustainability is, to me, simply and purely the ability to sustain, and that's where I like to leave it. And so there's this arrival then, when we simplify the meaning of sustainability, we can begin to bring it home to self. And that's one of my absolute it's a soul purpose for me, to help others understand that sustainability is an internal concept. It's not external to us. It's not taking your keep cup to the local cafe, even though that's great for the environment. There's lots of different ways we can engage with sustainability. And so I'd just like to allude that there's social sustainability, there's cultural sustainability, there's environmental sustainability, there's economic sustainability. And so just to round out that most people connect with sustainability, but they're actually connecting with environmental sustainability. And so that's the most common that we see and we read and we hear about. And what I love to bring it all together is the self. We are the only ones interacting with any version of sustainability in our own awareness. And so I created a signature course last year. It was one of the first things I launched with Earth Within, and it was called Sustainability for Self. And so in there, I spoke about how you can connect to the earth, self, and spirit, because there's this missing link, I do believe, traversing a university degree whilst, deepening my own spiritual practices in my own time. I realized there's a huge missing link to modern sustainability, and that is spirituality. Other people may call it, the energy, or there's lots of different words that can be activating for different people, but I prefer the word spirituality. But in a sense, it's knowing that we are not just a human, like we have a soul and a spirit, and we connect with the environment, with nature, as we are to nature. And it cannot be ignored once you realize you're a part of it all. You're interconnected deeply within the system of, there's so many different ecosystems. And I love how Claire Baker talks about having a menstrual ecosystem. And, we have just lots of different ecosystems to tend to and dance with. And so there's so much to expand on with sustainability as a living practice, that it's not just about gardening, even though I love that for people. I love that people have passions in that. And there's, sustainable ways you can farm or eat. But I think for the purpose of this podcast and for the work that I do is holistic sustainability. So really tending to that relationship within in order to flow out, to have a positive and meaningful connection with your outer environment, whether that means your community, your peers, your family, your greater community, and then country. And, it ripples out. Sustainability is like a ripple, but it has to begin from your awareness of it all. Like if we continue to live life and think that sustainability is something that exists outside of ourselves and scientists are going to solve some sort of scientist issue, then we aren't empowered to engage in sustainable living. We aren't giving ourselves that connection, because it is truly all about, and I talk about this, I've probably repeated a few times now, it's about connecting to the self. And so really this means knowing yourself deeply. Like, who are you? Who are you to the core? What lights you up? What doesn't light you up? What do you not like? And beginning to connect with that intuition, because the more we serve ourselves and what is true, like I said before, and what is authentic to us, then we almost feel full, like we're living a fuller life, a life that is really just feels so grounded in our own desires, that then encourages others to, walk that path of also engaging in a life that is in a rhythm and in the cycles of within and without. So I could go in lots of different ways and walk down lots of different pathways. So I hope that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So it's not just this thing that's outwards and in this environmental realm. It's not something that scientists are going to solve. It's something that we can be empowered to contribute to for ourselves as well as for the earth and the greater good, if you like, beyond just recycling and, the little things that you can, eating seasonally, those kinds of things. It's much more about coming back to yourself, knowing yourself deeply, and living from that place, like in alignment with who you truly are. Does that sound right?
Yes, absolutely. It's just an empowering act, like to live in a sustainable way is to slow down and notice and to pause. And in doing so, you're giving reverence to nature in every moment. Like if you respect yourself, you begin to respect the world around you, the people, the animals, the plants, the bees. Like you will ripple out this respect in life in lots of different ways. And then you begin to engage in reciprocal relationships. So you know that by what you give out is also then what you can, we're constantly gifting. There's this beautiful concept of like a gifting economy and sacred economics. And so we're in this exchange with the environment. And the more that we notice everything as a gift, the sunlight as a gift on our skin, our the food that we eat is a gift. If we begin to see that, and it's not always easy and it's not always perfect, but this is a theory that we can respect it more. If you're given a gift and someone's hand knitted you a jumper, how much more are you going to respect that jumper than one that you've just been like, that's just been bought off the shelf, and maybe a lot of other people have, which, it's absolutely fine, but we're just illuminating the relationship is different. And so sustainability for me is a lot about being in relationship to your inner environment and your outer environment. You're in relationship and seeing how that exchange can be more fruitful or more inspiring.
Yeah, you're so right. Like if you're given a gift, like you're really thankful, you take more care of it. If something's been handmade as well, and you can see the effort that somebody's put into something for you, I could just think of like a knitted jumper or something, then yeah, you treasure it, you care for it, you treat it differently all the time, and you hope that it lasts and that it might even be a hand-me-down one day. Whereas the fast fashion that, costs just a few dollars, and, it's something that you're kind of like, oh yeah, cool. And then I heard recently that there's been a study in the UK, just on the note of fast fashion, that apparently, I can't remember the number, but it was overwhelming. This massive percentage of the population of, I think it was young women surveyed, they said that they considered a garment to be old if they'd worn it more than once. So 2 or more times it was considered old. And, no wonder that, things like that are being thrown out, adding to landfill, back into the earth, being shipped around the world to, end up in landfill somewhere else. And that's just one example, but came to mind as being like out of relationship with everything that goes into creating what you have in front of you. And I feel like that's part of it as well, is it? Like understanding the life cycle of whatever it is that you're receiving. So, whether it's the food on your plate, like thinking about where it's come from, who's grown it, what land it's come from, how far it's, how it was tended, how it's been packaged and shipped to you, and how you've got it on your plate and how you're eating it. I think that's a really powerful way just to, the more we can have awareness of how we fit into the cycle of, like the life cycle of things too. It helps you to make choices and to see, do you want to participate or engage with something in that way, or do you, how do you feel about that fast fashion that you've just picked up? Just to actually align with you, and you can only make a choice about that when you see the full cycle?
Mm-hmm. It's actually as well about what we are passing along. So with the second definition that you read, about it meeting the needs of future generations, how we live life will, if you choose to have children, or but also the people around you, we're constantly influencing others with the way that we live life. Like if our attitude towards life is a resource, then what are we passing on, to be embodied then in future generations? So it's not always about external resources, and what about, there's this gorgeous term, I think it was originating from Claire mentioned it to me, Claire Fole. She may have experienced it during a course with Meg Berryman, but about resourcing. So resourcing to self, and how, what inner resources do you have, with patience, compassion, respect. Like there's these internal incredible well of resources we have as humans that help us navigate life. And so it's seeing ourselves as well as self-sustaining through our emotions, and the way we're able to deal with, cope with, be in relationship with different experiences, because we all go through such different journeys in life, and some experiences are amazing and like, oh, this is the best day of my life, and other days are like, this is the shittest, how can it get any worse? And so just knowing that we have like an inner well of resources, and this is where I think sustainability comes in for me, is tapping into that inner well and looking after it, and getting to know, well, what does it feel like when I'm compassionate to myself? Like, how can I nurture my inner realm? What would that look like for me today, or in the week, or over my menstrual cycle? Or there's different ways and different questions to ask, but I just would love to illuminate that, like, over time, if we really embody a sustainable life in a holistic perspective, then that ripple is so huge, it's going to last and like foster such an incredible livelihood for future generations, because we're passing on a way of being. We're not saying do this, do that, but just our way of being will sort of be absorbed. And I'm just sort of imagining, I'm talking with my hands a lot, so you can't see me, imagining this incredible different way of experiencing life for future generations, because we're not so concerned with the material, but we're looking beyond that, and I think uncovering the layers of emotions and our spirit, our soul, our truest desires, and that will enable like more bliss to flow in, and more ease, and why not lean into that possibility for the future?
I absolutely adore that. And I love the concept of resourcing yourself. I heard that too. I've heard that from, I'm trying to think where I've heard that from. Kate at the Diamond Women Project, she was talking about that. And I really think that's fundamental to to our well-being, isn't it? And again, instead of tying sustainability to outputs, in terms of sustaining our energy, or our capacity to keep going, even if it's coming back to what do we need to do in order to keep going, coming back to those other capacities that we have as humans, and especially as women, some of these emotional capacities can be our strengths, like you said, about compassion and empathy, and patience, and all of those inner well springs that we have, that we rely on to that kind of feeds into our resilience as well, right? And tending to ourselves, and it comes back to that metaphor of the thing that everyone talks about, of like filling your cup, your self-care cup, or your inner cup, filling that first, and then letting the overflow ripple out to other people. It's it really speaks to that. So I'd love to hear more about you mentioned about the menstrual cycle and sustainability. What has the menstrual cycle taught you about sustainability?
Oh, it's so beautiful to be invited to speak on this incredible connection. Thank you for asking the question. It has taught me that it is okay to slow down, that in the slowing down and the awareness of differing energy over the cycle for myself, like I'm speaking from my own menstrual cycle experience, it's definitely taught me that that is sustainable. Then I can continue on to the next cycle. If I look after myself in the last cycle, at different points, I'll experience different energy bursts or energy, contractions. And so really leaning into what is fully present is sustainable in the long run. It is an act of, it's taught me as well that we're incredibly powerful when we tap into a cyclical rhythm, that can then encourage us to keep going, but not in a push way mentality, but in feeling into that flow, that there's an ebb and a flow and an up and a down to life. When we're aware of, when I'm aware of where I am in my menstrual cycle, which I'm fully committed to because it is so empowering to follow your energy from that space. The womb is such a powerful space for women to connect with the creative cycle of life, and that is something I'm definitely playing with and dancing with. But it's such a portal of possibility. It's also a portal of what isn't available to you right now. Why there's some days I feel like resting more, like I'm about to bleed or I am bleeding. And so that, the notion of the menstrual cycle and menstrual cycle awareness, connecting with sustainability, is to be aware of your menstrual cycle is to live more sustainably, simply put.
I love that. Yeah. I love what you just said there about knowing what is not available to you right now. That's a really, really simply, elegantly expressed notion that I haven't articulated in that way before. And I really love that. It's absolutely, I think, talk about it a lot, about how, our culture wants us to be on the go all the time. And, that's what we value. It's this output, but that's not always available to us. And we try and override it. But actually, coming back to what is available and what isn't available, and making the best meal that we can with the ingredients that we've got right now, almost as like a metaphor. It's like that sustainable eating or seasonal eating, but seasonal being, just being with what is available within. It feels like a really lovely way to tie those two together in like a really nice little easy to understand way.
There's with sustainability, as you were speaking then, it's really come to mind visually, just to speak on that living akin to nature is living cyclically, because nature is a bounty of cycles. There's no linear trajectory represented in nature. I will, if you find one, let me know. Challenge. No, I know, no, body, there's just, that is not true. Linear living is not true in nature. And so when we recognize we are also nature, then coming to the menstrual cycle, and all the other myriad of cycles you can connect to, like the moon phases, the seasons of the year, the wheel of the year. We only are mirroring nature, and that is the most sustainable thing you can possibly do, and probably something I could have shared on earlier, but that is to live like nature is to live sustainably, because if we humans, I think, probably could benefit from realizing that nature and the environment and trees and plants and the ecosystems around us would continue long after we may go, if humans aren't a part of the ecosystem anymore. And so if we would like to keep, being in relationship with and a part of our ecosystem, is to begin living in that way that it already is. It is already representing cycles. That's why we have seasons, and a winter every year, and then a summer, and then, we're constantly through our days, there's the sun, and then the night sky takes over, and that's every day. We're all cyclical beings. And so to lean into that a menstrual cycle awareness and living in alignment with the energy of your menstrual cycle is another way to live in more like nature.
Yeah, again, we are just nature. It's just reflecting it back to us, our own nature. And so to put you on the spot, what are some of your practices or rituals, or how do you access this? Like, what's the bridge? What's the portal? How do you bring this into like a daily, something tangible? Like, how do you connect with this? What's that look like for you?
Oh, it looks so many different ways, and it's very multicolored and multifaceted. And again, like, this is probably what is true for me now, and this may change, and it has changed in the past. But some beautiful ways to firstly check in with my own inner cycle is to write down where I am in my cycle and how I'm feeling. We're invited in Cycle Coach, of course, to practice with the 4 bodies, spirit, mental, physical, and emotional. And so it's just checking in there, how I'm feeling, what I felt like. If I was so hungry all day, but I'm so creative, and I'm feeling so capable in my body, or, so I note down a few, bits and bobs, really, just a summary. And usually at night, because very different at night compared to the morning. I think everybody can relate. You can at least encapsulate the whole day then, but it's different for everyone. And so that's a cyclical practice. I love connecting with the moon phases. I have some beautiful cards that are up on like an A-frame in our living room. And so every time the moon phase changes, I change the card that's facing the living room. So it could say like waxing crescent or waning crescent, or full moon or new moon. And so as the moon changes, I like to change those cards. So every 3 days, as the phases change. And underneath the cards are some affirmations that just remind me what energy is present collectively. So we're in the waxing gibbous phase of the moon at the moment, and so there's an affirmation under the moon that says, I am open to all abundance, all new forms of abundance that are available to me, and things like I will succeed. And there's lots of leaning into what is present in forms of abundance with the waxing gibbous. And so that's a practice of like connecting to the lunar rhythm. And of course,
I love that.
Oh, thanks.
I want to see this. I want to see this card. It sounds gorgeous.
I know. They are beautiful. And so connecting, like I began the potty interview with like going for a walk, and connecting to nature by going for a walk is to know how the weather is and which season I'm in, and am I brisk and like all covered up and like wrapped up in my scarf, and how this makes me feel too, the seasons have such an impact on the way we live our life. Like we all, I think, experience mostly, if I was to use the polar opposites of summer and winter, the way we live in summer, we're, yeah, come over for a barbecue, and like we're socializing, and it's like warm at 8 o'clock at night in Australia. And then in winter it's like it's gone dark at 5 and I'm like already eating dinner in bed, and just like cozy. So that then plays into the energy and of knowing where I am. Like I like to think of the cycles I'm a part of are just a tapestry. And so I have like a cyclical tapestry map that I've created, and just to really locate myself energetically in what I'm being held in, because I firmly believe that like just to allow cycles to hold me is a comfort in uncertainty. Like I can feel a sense of like container, I don't know, like presence of nature when I sort of know where I am with it all, because there's quite a few cycles to keep the tabs on, just thinking other practices is breath work. I love taking moments in my day to really reconnect to my body, and the breath is the gateway to your inner universe, essentially. Like the more we tap into that inhale and exhale, we begin noticing like, oh, there's a bit of tenderness here in my heart. I'm feeling, there's space, and it's a beautiful way to provide space to feel through the breath. And so you can call it like meditation, or I'm not very strict. As I said, manifesting generator, I would love to not have a routine around this. Like if I give myself you have to do this for 40 days, like, no, thank you. All of a sudden breath work, I hate it. I need to feel like it's my own sovereign choice to just slide into a bit of breathing
I'm dying over here because I just relate so hard.
Seriously. Yeah. So yeah, it's like so true for me that to label it or routine it, or to say I'm going to sit by my altar every morning that's not what keeps me alive and in relationship to having a practice. And this is why I think I'm, providing almost like little dots of ways I connect to cyclical sustainable living, is because it is always looking different for me. It does, and that's okay. And so I really give everyone else that like huge permission slip to like, you don't have to sit, and make it really complicated. I love creating ritual though. Like I love lighting candles for specific reasons and having intention brewing in that candle of like why I would be here and sitting in, say if I'm musing on a new creation, then it's like, okay, I'm in my space, I'm lighting that candle. I might use some incense if I like, because that then almost makes you feel held in a different energy when there's a different scent. Also essential oils. And so there's ways I weave in ritual to create symbolism, and honoring the wheel of the year with different altars, either out in our living room, dining table, or on my own personal altar, just with little bits and pieces that represent the season or what is there. So say in like the spring equinox time, there may be like crystal eggs and representing like the birth and fertility of the time. And so I would say that a practice of mine that is continuing is finding symbolism with nature, and then seeing how I can represent that visually in my life really helps me feel connected to the outer realms of nature.
Love that. Thank you. Yeah. I love that. I love that you've offered like dots of inspiration, and that it's take from it what you will. And I'm the same. Like sometimes I'm asked, what's like a routine? What can I do as a routine? Like I want to know exactly what I should do at this season of my cycle or this time of year, and to be like this. It's almost prescriptive, and I can't work that way. I can't do it because that's not coming from my own inner, how am I feeling and what do I need? That's coming from habit or well, this is what I think I should do, or this is what worked for me before, rather than going like, what do I actually need right now? And if anything becomes a, like, you've got to do this, like you said, every day, oh my God, I just can't do it. Like, I actually find cycle charting really challenging because for that reason, I'm like, oh, I get a bit bored of it. So I have to make it more spontaneous. And, I do what you were saying about the 4 bodies check-in. I do it at some point in my day. And I totally agree that at the end of the day, it's much easier because you can look back and kind of look at the whole day. Some people love to do it in the morning and, kind of set up for their day. I just have to kind of do it whenever I get them, whenever the inspiration strikes. And so I have to be intentional about coming back to my body. And I love candles as a portal to doing that, like a reminder to create like a sacred space, which automatically drops me into a place of softening and coming to the present. And then from that place, I can be more aware of what's going on in my inner landscape. I have to be mindful about that. But the moment it becomes prescriptive, I really struggle. And I think that's really important. There are people who really love to have a routine and to know that it's the same every day. And that's, perfect for certain personality types and then other, or human design types. And then for other people, that can make us feel like we're failing because we just can't get a handle on this daily rhythm and daily routine. So I really love that it's not just me, that it's you as well. And I love that you shared about looking for symbols as well, and symbols in nature and working with that, either in an altar or bringing things in that remind you of where you're at, in your life and in your business too. And so what I was also hearing was you saying, like, I get the sense that, this is your practice for life, for you and for your business. Like, it's all one and the same. It's not separate.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. It all weaves together. I entirely believe that the more we smooth out the kinks of like the clunkiness of life that we're sort of delivered in this way to live life, and business must live over there, and but smoothing it out means performing ritual and breath and connection to business and self, like all one in the same. Like my business is so heart-centered and soul-centered, like how could I possibly like leave it in an office or something? Oh no, it's a part of me just alone in the dark, like no way. It's all part of me, and so I'm accepting that fully. And so the way that I move through business is very inspired by nature and the cycles and where I am in my menstrual cycle. So, no way would I be like, as best as I can, I have 28 to 31 day cycles. And so, and they're at the moment, it's quite interesting. This month, I'm exactly matched up to the date of the day of the month. So I was day 1 on August 1. And so it's been quite funny, like, I don't even have to cycle check in. No, joking. Like, just what's the date today? But, I can separate as best as I can the way that I can work in my business over a month. So, for example, when I came out of, if I just go into like a business cycle for me with my menstrual cycle, if you'd like, just day 1, day 2, I really take a break. I have no work on. Like, I make sure my schedule is like unavailable and and that works when I'm able to predict that. And then day 3 and 4, like, I can sense my energy rising, and I'm so curious and keen to get back to work and play and create because I'm fully obsessed and so enchanted by everything that I do. So it's just like, okay, can't wait to get back. So I'll maybe start journaling onto like, what could this look like for me in business this month? Maybe what can I, focus on? And then it is held by an intention. So I love to set an intention, even if it's just 2 words or 1 word around my menstrual cycle. So this month is this cycle is pleasure and power, and so that will often infiltrate into my business. And so knowing that as I move, towards in my inner spring is like a little bit of a typing away, setting up structures and planning. I'm a Virgo sun as well, so I'm like all up in my calendar like no tomorrow. Like, okay, color coding the month for me is very satisfying. And so I'm in the summer now, and so for me it's like the delivery of, say for example I put out a full moon gathering online. I'm putting it out now, I'm birthing and delivering that I weaved and wrote about in my tender early spring days. Sorry, there's a gardener in if you can hear an outside. Sorry, I'll continue.
That's okay. Go for it.
Life happens.
It does.
And so and then as I move into my inner autumn premenstrual phase, I will be like tying up the loose ends, because I want to start finishing up and wrapping up and slowing down. And I then go into my inner winter and allow time to just rest, because something for me that I've learned over like especially the last 2 years, but while I've been in business the last year, is just the rest is just as important as the birthing time and the outward time. Like if I don't rest, then I'll my energy won't be able to be sustained like throughout the business cycle. And so I must admit that I'm very strong. I don't know what the word is, with like I'm strongly connected to the lunar phases. And so I always am quite careful of when to launch things in my business. Like if it's in a waxing moon or if it's in a waning moon phase, I quite like the possibility and the invitation of a new moon or a waxing moon that can help, gift what I am offering to the world to be received. And whereas like the waning, I'm like, okay, like I'm closing back up again. So I do business alongside the moon cycle. Quite connected to her energy.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing all of that. I love doing like similar things, launching or opening or sowing seeds in that first half, like with the new moon and the growing moon, and putting out the intention and calling it in and growing it, and you're manifesting, if that's something as a word that you like to use. But all of that. And I find it really interesting because my cycle is still quite irregular, and I couldn't predict when we lined up today that I was going to be bleeding. So I really try to work in that cyclical way, but sometimes kind of get a little bit caught out with, what would feel most, sort of, what was it you said earlier on about working with what you've got, or, and what you have and what's available and what's not available. So, I think there's so much, if you have a regular cycle, it's so powerful to be able to align, your work and your business with your cycle in that way, and the moon cycle. And so I tend to do that, the moon cycle, when I can't be sure of where my body's at, and it just feels so supportive and grounding as well. I really, really love to do that. So I think it, like you said, it sort of holds you in as like in a place, in your place in the world, but also invites you to come back to yourself and to be supported by yourself and by nature's seasons and cycles. So thank you for sharing your process. That's really gorgeous.
I will just say as well that it's always just an invitation, where you are in your menstrual cycle, or where the moon phases are. It's only just an invitation. And so it doesn't have to be prescriptive, or no, you can't possibly like launch or share something. And if the energy is there, always trusting that like your body knows, and I just like wanted to say that you don't ever have to be held back by the cycles or the shoulds or the don't do that and do this. Like actually trust your sovereign, your intuition. That's the most important, the way your body feels. It's only because the energy during my inner autumn is tending to go more inward. That's why I don't feel as energetically aligned with opening up spaces. But if I really did and my energy was more outward, I would trust that too. So just, trusting intuitively what is there, what is present, not that what, should be. Because must admit, I'm like, no, I can't do that. Oh gosh, it's this stage of my cycle or it's this. But, I'm like, Sophie, don't let it like hold you back. If it's really alive, go for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's about, always coming back to yourself and what, do you feel like you have the capacity to do that? And, like today, I'm talking to you, doing a podcast interview on day 4. And, I'm still bleeding quite heavily and my energy is lower. But, instead of going, I could have just easily said, let's rearrange. And that would have been cool. I know you'd have both been more than happy to do that. But I sort of checked in with myself and thought, can I do this? Do I want to do this? And I thought, yeah, this would feel really lovely. So then it's like, okay, so what do I need to do to support myself to do that? If you're doing something that, perhaps is using energy that you don't naturally have available, then what else do you need to resource yourself, like you said before, to support yourself to do that? And, if that's launching something in your premenstrual phase when your inner critic is there going, meh, or nobody's going to do this anyway, or oh, I haven't quite done it right, it's not perfect, or whatever that comes out as, however it manifests for you, maybe it's upping your self-care or your rest around that, or your mindset support, or journaling to release some of the fears that are going through your head, whatever it might be. I feel like that's, we can absolutely be guided, but we can also, like you said, let it stop us and tip us into paralysis. I think always coming back to what feels right and true and what do you need. It's really powerful. Thank you, Sophie. Well, as we come to a close, I would just love to ask you just some quick questions. Okay, so what is your favorite season or phase of your cycle or the cycles?
The moment, it's actually my inner autumn, and I can't believe I'm even saying that, because about a year ago I would have been like, what are you talking about? Inner spring was definitely where I felt most at home and in my creative energy, but the inner autumn for me at the moment is where I feel quite bold and quite strong and very like wild woman archetype, which I am loving, and it helps me so much in business and in life, and also just to communicate. And I'm especially alluding to the transition between inner summer and the beginning of inner autumn, because by the end of inner autumn, I'm like, goodbye, world. Like not bothered at all, not trying to connect to my in wild woman or whatever. Like it's not a thing. And I'm also kind of articulate very well. So for me, there's this cusp of transitioning out of inner summer and into inner autumn, and just feeling like a lot of strength and power like in my body and in my spirit. And so at the moment it's there.
Gorgeous. Thank you. I love that. And is there a season or a phase that is like the most challenging for you, or more challenging, or like your least favorite?
There's always like challenges, superpowers and joys of each phase for me, but I think in autumn at the very end, before my bleed begins, I can get a little bit anxious, because I used to experience painful periods and it brings a lot back for me. I think just like, will it be okay? And am I able, can I do this? It's almost like that. I can experience some anxious feelings, and I'm constantly talking to my partner Jacob, I think it might come today, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe and I'm always talking about it. I'm quite fixated on it. And then once my bleed arrives, I'm just like, it's here. And like, it's just such a relief. So I would say definitely the tender end of inner autumn, just before I bleed, can bring up challenges for me, around anxiousness.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I relate. And so we've talked heaps, but what's the biggest thing, or your key takeaway, like that connecting with your body and your cycle has taught you? Like, if there was one thing that you really felt it had revealed or illuminated for you, what would that be?
My first response is just to trust myself, that I know, that my body knows. So, bringing all of that wisdom together from, cyclical living, sustainable living, is to lean into trust, like what is true, to trust in the rhythm, that it will ebb and flow, and that is okay, that is perfect and divine, like as it's meant to be.
That's glorious. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sophie. It's been so lovely to talk to you today. Thank you for coming on Wild Flow. And if anybody wants to connect with you, they can come and find you over on Instagram. What's your handle?
My handle is Sophie French, with a __ at the end. And earthwithin.com.au, also where I hang out. So thanks so much for this conversation. It's just been really lovely to have the space to speak on what I'm so passionate about. Like, passion even doesn't do it justice. I'm like, whoa, so activated by. And so thank you for allowing me and inviting me to share. It really means a lot to me. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Your passion and your belief in this comes across so much, and it's been so revealing to me to see this connection between the cycles and sustainability within as much as without. I think that's what I'm really taking away from this, and going to consider, reflect on, lean into more. So that's been powerful conversation. Thank you so much. And I'll put all of your details in the show notes so everyone can come and find you. But thank you, lovely. Wishing you well. Have a great day.
Thank
catch you later.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening in. If you're loving this podcast and you'd love to help me spread the wisdom shared, please leave a review or rating, or share this with somebody who you think would love to listen in. I'm really passionate about creating ripples of change and getting this information to more women, girls, and people with a cycle so that they can reclaim their cyclic natures too. And if you'd love to dive in deeper with learning more about how to connect with your cycle and rites of passages, come and join our free Wild Flow Circle community, or choose a course and learn with me on my online learning hub. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, be well and go with the flow of your cyclic nature.